All right, Psalm 86, let's call this one Abounding in Steadfast Love. In this Psalm of David that seems to break down into roughly 4 prayers, the first of which being, God, please incline your ear to me, understanding that twice David is going to seem to indicate that he understands, as we've mentioned before, he is not entitled to have God listen to his prayers, even though God has recognized him as a man after God's own heart. He realizes it is a privilege to have God hear him, understanding some of the things that God has forgiven him of. And so he starts off, once again, incline your ear to me, Lord. Answer me, please. Preserve me, for I am godly. Once again, understanding even as a man after God's own heart, he does not have a blank check. He is basing his appeal to God on the fact that he has at least tried to do what is right, as he will go on to say, be gracious to me. Once again, because he is not a perfect man, he's asking for God to give him an allowance for the fact that he has a right heart that has led to a right walk. But even when we try to do the right things, we are going to stumble. And so acknowledging that, David is not going to conceal his sins, similar to what we saw back in Psalm 32. But acknowledging the fact that he makes mistakes, he is not going to make an excuse for his mistakes as he goes on to present this new petition to God, asking God to gladden him because why? He lifts up his soul to God, acknowledging that God is good and full of steadfast love. His second prayer is going to go on to say, once again, please give ear to me, God, because in the day of trouble I call to you. There is none like you. And David is acknowledging that he is not simply the God of Israel, but the God of all nations. Israel, through kings like David and Solomon, simply setting an example of what all nations should do to restore their relationship to God as well. He's going to say there is coming a day where all nations will honor and worship God. As he will go on to say, this is not simply me asking things of God. His next prayer is going to go on to say, Lord, teach me the ways that I should go, that I may abound in your truth. Not as we have probably become too comfortable in seeking to speak our own truths. David is acknowledging that there is a higher objective truth that he wants God to help him master so that he can improve or step up his game. As he is going to go on to say, unite my heart and I will praise you with a whole heart. Again, acknowledging that God's steadfast love is great and that he has been the source of deliverance for David in the past. David is going to, however, say, I got problems, God. Once again, insolent men have risen against me, a band of ruthless men who do not put God before themselves. He's going to say, however, you, God, are merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. Thus the title as he goes on to offer his last prayer, saying, God, please turn to me, give me your strength, save the son of your servant, show me a sign of your favor, that those who hate me may see and be put to shame. This chapter reminding me of the way in which God's steadfast love and faithfulness, his presence and the value that he adds to our lives meet when he vindicates us, understanding that one of the sub-themes we've looked at from time to time in the Psalms to this point is the way in which David appeals to God for his vindication, understanding that even though David did some mighty things, most notably killing Goliath, he realized that his power had limits. And the same man who had the power to kill Goliath could potentially be taken down by the rumor mill. Understanding how many times in the Psalms David is talking about the collective of enemies that have gathered around him, not always looking to kill him by the sword, sometimes seeking to take him down by the power of the tongue. And so David, realizing that he can't subdue every enemy that might surround him, appeals to God for his steadfast love and his faithfulness, his presence and the value that he adds to David's life to manifest itself in ways that will silence David's enemies.